Welcome, Matrix, to Business Studies here on our fantastic Thursday afternoon. It's almost weekend, guys. Crunch time. Just hold in there. I promise it'll be fantastic and it'll be okay. I pinky promise. And don't forget, this show is proudly sponsored by Macmillan. And today you are here with me. I know it's weird. I'm not normally here on a Thursday, and I haven't been here in such a long time. But I have my trusty Anita with me. Anita, how have you been?
Good, thanks, and you? Long time no see.
It's been about 2 months. I haven't been on a
Absolutely.
Thursday show in quite a while.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you. What are we doing today?
Assurance, insurance, and investments.
That
Very
was my
interesting.
favorite chapter. Well, I told you, I never really start. By the time you get to matric and you've done that test about 4 times, you just stop studying it, actually.
Well, I hope my matrics are there as well.
Yeah,
They've
I did
stopped
that.
studying.
If you haven't grasped it yet, I suggest you study it quite a bit more. I just want to give a shout out to Anne and my mother and tell you I'll be home in a little bit because I've been here at Mindset for quite some time, the whole day actually. But let's get into our business studies, Anita.
Thank you. Okay, guys. This is such a nice section of work. You'll see if you have downloaded the notes for today that I included a whole lot of theory revision for you. So we're not going to go through that today. I want to focus on exam questions, types of questions that they can ask, so that you can get used to the way that it's asked and how we need to answer it. Please, if you guys have questions, post it to Facebook, and I'm going to try and my best to also answer that for you guys. But let's start. We're going to fly away with some questions here. So the first 5 questions that I've got for you guys is about insurance and assurance. So I quickly want to talk about what is the difference between insurance and assurance. Remember, the one is with an I and the one is with an A. Now, in the olden days, I want to say olden days, a while ago, they referred to insurance and assurance. The more modern term that we talk about this in this day is short-term and long-term insurance. But we still need to know that it's insurance and assurance. Now, listen to this. This is actually a very easy way to remember it. Insurance with an I, if you think of how we spell it, it's in case something happens. Did you guys know that? In case I drive out of here tonight and I bump into another car, I've got vehicle insurance. In case I walk out here tonight and I fall down the stairs and I break my foot, I've got medical insurance. So that's insurance. Now, assurance with an A says AS. As sure as I'm alive, one day I'm going to die, unfortunately. And we need to make a plan for that. We need to look after the people we leave behind. So as sure as I'm alive, I'm going to die, and I can take out a policy for that. Something like life insurance, something like funeral cover. I can take out an endowment to provide for my family one day. So that was just a quick recap. Here we go. Question 1. Let's read together. It says, the property of Turbo Distillers has a current market value. Current. So that means it's now. The current market value of 300 million rand. The warehouse was partly damaged by a fire. Oh, that's a bummer. Damages were assessed at 60 million rand. The insurance company is not prepared to pay the full amount of the claim because Turbo Distillers insured the property for only 200 million. That is a problem, guys. Let's see what question A says. It says, which principle of insurance is applicable to the above claim? Now, we can see the market value of this building was 300 million, and they only insured it for 200 million. So they basically short 100 million worth. So we call this underinsurance. Underinsurance means that every single month, I'm not paying enough to cover my property value. So now the outsurance or whoever you insured with can say, you haven't been paying enough every month, so we're not going to pay out the full value of this damage. So guys, I said to you there, we call it underinsurance. But look what I also said. I said we will also accept the word indemnity. Now, let's quickly talk about that. Indemnification says, this is a very important concept. Indemnification says the insurance company will put you back in the same position that you were before this loss happened to you. But we cannot make a profit from insurance. Now you're thinking, what do you mean you can't make a profit? Do you know how often you will hear that people will say, they broke into my house and they only stole the TV, but I'm going to tell the insurance company that they stole my DSTV, they stole my camera, they stole my laptop. So you are making a profit out of insurance. That is against the law. It is fraud. If they catch you doing that, you can go to jail. So indemnification says you can only claim for what you lost, and the insurance company will only pay you out what you lost. So let's move on to question B. It says here, calculate the compensation that turbo distillers will receive from the insurance company. Show all your calculations. Now, I always say to my students, guys, please don't just write down an answer. If you decide you're working it out on rough paper and you decide the answer is 10% and it's wrong, you don't get any marks for those steps. That's why they say show all the calculations, because you can see it's for 6 marks if you look there. 6 marks. They can't give you 6 marks if you just write 10%. So you need to show them steps. Somewhere along the line you might go wrong, but that's okay because you've already maybe got 3 marks or 4 marks before that. So please show your calculations. Now let's have a look what I did here. We want to now, in other words, see how much is this insurance company going to pay out of this loss. Remember we said this guy is underinsured. So now we work it out. Look at this formula that I said or wrote down here. I said, how much did he insure it for? The insured amount. He insured for 200 million. So remember we said the value of that business is currently 300 million, but he decided he's only going to pay for 200. Now, what did the fire cause? Damage of 60 million. So we're going to say, I just want to quickly find my calculator here. Yes, I'm going to move over to this side, quickly do that. Now, we said 200 million times 60 gives me 120, no, sure, how much is that? 120 million? All those noughts, there's 6 noughts. And then I'm going to divide it by 300 million. My answer is 40 million. Can you guys see that? Do you understand that, what I'm trying to do here? Now, let's just recap. I said I take the amount that I insured for, how much I've paid, I times it by the amount of damage that was caused, and I divide it by the actual market value of the business on the day that that fire happened. And I got 40 million. All right, next one. Question 2. Let's see what it says. The following questions are based on the Unemployment Insurance Fund. What is it? Let's think. Let's recap quickly. Unemployment. So when you're unemployed, there's a type of insurance fund. Now, for every single worker in this country that works more than 24 hours per day, it is compulsory for your employer to pay UIF. Let's see what the question says. It says, define the nature of this fund. Nature, what does that mean? For 2 marks. In other words, what is this fund? Why do we have the Unemployment Insurance Fund? Look at what it says. It's money paid out of this fund for people who become unemployed. Now, how do you become unemployed? You can resign. Can I claim from UIF then? If I decide I resign, if I decide I'm now going to quit my job as a teacher and I'm going to play golf for 3 months overseas, can I go claim UIF? No, not a chance. The UIF's going to say to you, but it's your decision. You decided not to work anymore. You can go and work and you had a job. So tough. It's only when I'm fired or if I'm pregnant or if I've adopted a child, or if I'm really sick, that I can go and claim from UIF. So that's why it says here, it's a type of insurance for which we contribute, and then if I become unemployed for illegal, in other words, not for some felony that I committed, I'm sick, I'm having a baby, I was fired, I can go and claim from the UIF. Let's carry on to our next question. It says here, describe how it is funded. Now think about this. They want to know, in other words, where does the money come from in this fund? Who contributes to it? Do you guys know? Can you remember this?
1%.
Do you remember, Megan? Has someone told us there already?
Oh no, I just know.
Oh, you remember? Oh, good.
This is sad.
I'm impressed.
So depressing. I think it's 1% your own salary and 1% the employer.
Absolutely, guys.
Oh, yeah.
So they take 1% of the value of your salary. In other words, let's say you earn 1,000 Rand. They take 1% of the 1,000 from your salary, and then your employer will also pay out of his own pocket 1% of 1,000. So actually, if you think about it, there's 2% of the value of your salary that's contributed every month to this fund. So now, let's see what I said here. It says workers who work for more than 24 hours. Remember, I just told you guys that. In other words, if you think about it, you work for more than 1 day per month. Then your employer has to contribute to UIF. They make a contribution of 1% of the earnings that they receive from your employer. But look at this, the employer also makes an equal contribution of 1% of the worker's earning to the fund. In other words, if you add 1% and another 1%, you're going to have a total of 2% of your income every single month. Now, guys, it's really important that you make use of this fund one day, because for the entire time that you're working, you're contributing towards this fund. So when one day you have a baby, or you are really ill, or your adopted child, make use of this fund. You pay for it every single month. Let's carry on. Number C, it says list. Oh, firstly, we need to look at this word. List 3 benefits of the fund for the employees. I'm not asking for the employer. What benefit does it have for me, the employee, to have UIF? Let's look at this. Sick benefits. Now, the UIF says if you are longer or sick for longer than 14 days and you cannot go to work, but listen, you're not receiving your salary or your full salary, then you can claim from the UIF. So that's what it says, sick benefits. You cannot, if your employer is giving you sick leave and you're still getting your normal salary, you can't go claim from the UIF because you're not really needing the money then. You're still getting what you deserve. So you can't go and claim from them then. It's only if you receive no salary or a part of your salary that you can go claim from them. Maternity benefits. What do they say about maternity leave? How many weeks can I now go and claim for? Remember, Matrix? If you get maternity leave and they're still paying you your full salary, you cannot claim from UIF. Only if you have to take unpaid leave, or if they say we're going to pay you half of your salary, then you can claim from UIF. And UIF says we will pay up to 17 weeks. In other words, about 4 months that you'll have maternity leave benefits at UIF. Death benefits. Now, this is very interesting. If I'm paying UIF every single month and I pass away tonight, then my husband can go to UIF and he can claim because I've been paying for it. I've been bringing money into our household, and he can then go and say, well, I don't have her money coming in anymore. I'm claiming from UIF. And remember, it will only be for a certain period of time and probably only a percentage of your salary that you'll be able to claim for. And the last one says adoption benefits. Now, did you guys know this? If you go and you adopt a child that is how old? Does anyone know that? I'm going to see if anyone knows.
We'll leave it as
can
a
you
question.
remember? Let's see if anyone can post that for me on Facebook. I'm going to carry on, but I want to know, how old must this child be that you adopt to go and claim your UIF benefits? I'm going to carry on and see if someone's going to answer me. Question number D says, does the UIF benefit the employer? Motivate your answer. I love questions like this because what they're asking is your opinion. They're saying, does it benefit? You can say, yes, it does, but you need to tell me why, because look at it, it says, motivate your answer. So I'm going to give you 1 mark for saying yes, in this case, 2 marks, and then 2 marks for saying why you're saying yes. Now, I wrote a whole lot of possible answers that you could give here. It benefits the employee. We're talking about the guy you work for now. It says the employer does not have to make full monetary payments if the employee is sick. In other words, the employee can say, okay, you're sick for longer than 2 weeks. Now we're only paying you half your salary. That's going to save him money because he says you can go claim the other half from UIF. The employer does not have to make full monetary payments if the employee is pregnant. So, once again, he can say to you, you've got the UIF that you can go to, we're only paying you half of your salary. The employer does not have to make a full monetary contribution if the employee dies. So he's not going to have to feel guilty and say, oh, I must pay Mrs. Borman's husband so much, da-da-da-da-da. They're just going to say, go to UIF. And then I also wrote down here, no sudden lump sum payments that's not budgeted for. So let's say I do pass away. Now they don't have to worry and say, oh, we didn't think she's going to pass away. Now we need to pay out 200,000 Rand that they didn't budget for. So that won't happen to them, and that's a big benefit for them. And then lastly, I said, anything else that you can motivate for me. Because remember, I'm asking you, this is your opinion. Does it benefit them or not? And then lastly, remember, because this is your opinion, you could have said to me, no, it doesn't benefit them because they can't deduct this from tax. It's not an expense for the business that they can say, don't worry, we can still claim it back from tax. And it reduces the cash flow. So the money that they're paying towards UIF, they could have used for something else. They could have pumped it back into their business, bought a new machine, upgraded a building, and then lastly, it increases our expenses for the company. Is there any answer there yet? Has anyone answered us?
I'm refreshing now, so I'll let you know.
I think everyone's busy studying, and you haven't seen that bit. So let's see. I think we might have to take a break, and then we'll see if someone answers us.
Right afterwards. Okay, well, we'll be right back after this short ad break, Matrix. We'll see you. Welcome back, grade 12s. Hope you had a good ad break. Feeling refreshed? Oh, both my elbows clicked. Anyway, you're feeling refreshed. You had a glass of water because we did. Well, I had Sprite. But nevertheless, I hope you guys are tuned in. I didn't tell you in the beginning, silly me, where to get all the information. So I'm going to tell you now. I'll be on the page, and that is facebook.com/learn extra with an X, don't forget. And also the notes that we're going through now, that will be at mindset.co.za/learn extra. So, and don't forget, we're doing business studies now. And I keep on hearing, because I'm around teachers, they keep on telling me that you guys have exams coming up. So pay attention, you must look.
Is there any answer? I'm dying to know. Did someone get that answer right?
Miranda!
Yay, Miranda! Well done. Have you been studying for your prelims?
I'm so
I
impressed.
think so.
Correct.
What did she say?
She said less than 2 years old.
Yes, guys, that's the right answer. So remember we spoke about UIF for adoption. If you adopt a child that's 2 years or younger, remember not 2 years and older, in other words, a little baby up to the age of 2 years, then you can claim from the UIF if you do not receive your full salary. Let's carry on to question 3. All right, Bongani's general dealer business is not insured. Oh, that's bad. You are an insurance broker. Bongani approaches you to advise him on insurance. You complete a proposal form for Bongani's business. The monthly premium is calculated at 2,800 Rand on a total value of goods amounting to 2.8 million. So let's look what I ask here. Number A, identify the type of insurance that Bongani needs and give one reason, only one, why this insurance is beneficial. Now, there's actually a few things that you can answer here. If I think of a business, the first thing I'm going to think about is fire and theft insurance, because you don't want your business to be locked up at night and you go home and you're sleeping and you get that phone call to say, your company has burned down. So you could say here, once again, I said to you, there's a variety of answers. It's non-compulsory. That's very important. No one is forcing Bongani to go and take out insurance, because remember, we said he doesn't even have insurance. So now's the time for him. Non-compulsory insurance is also known as, sorry, I'm being really doff now. Insurance with an I is also known as short-term insurance. That's why I wrote it there for you guys, because remember, we spoke about that in the beginning. Now, I also said fidelity insurance. Think of this important concept now. Whenever I teach this to my matrics, I say to them, for some odd reason, you picture this little Fidelity car driving around. Do you know those big trucks when you go to a shopping center and they're there with their guns and there's money and people walking out and they're transporting money to and from businesses? Do you know what I'm talking about? At a stage they were hijacked and it was really scary, and they were called Fidelity trucks. Now, for some reason, this sticks in your mind and you think fidelity insurance means when I'm transferring money to the bank, I need to take out insurance. No. Fidelity insurance says, I'm taking out insurance to protect myself against either a certain employee or a certain position in the business. Now, how would this work? Why would I want to do that? For Bongani, let's say he's got his financial department and he's got Sheila that does his accounting for him. Accountants can wangle the books. We're not saying that you can and you mustn't. It's very bad, it's unethical, but it might happen that she might commit fraud. And now Bongani can go take out fidelity insurance to cover himself against either in person, Sheila, or against the bookkeeping position, that he can protect himself against losses. And then, very importantly, we want to insure our stock. We want to make sure that if something happens, if there's a fire, if there's a big storm and your roof collapses, that all of your stock, your equipment, your furniture is covered by that. Let's see what else I wrote. I said, insurance protects Bongani against possible losses. Remember we said, in case something happens, insurance. He may suffer as a result from fire, burglary, theft, storm damage, and whatever else. Therefore, if he is insured, he will be indemnified for the losses by the insurance company. Indemnification says the insurance company will put you in the same financial position that you were before the loss occurred. Remember, I said to you, we cannot make a profit out of insurance. They are going to only put you back in the same position that you were before your watch got stolen, before they stole your television. They're not going to pay you more. You're not going to make a profit out of them. It is against the law. Now, I also said any other relevant answer. If you could give me another form of insurance that he was supposed to take out and you can motivate why, I will give you the marks. Question number B says, Bongani states that the premium of 2,800 per month is not within his budget. What advice would you offer him? Provide 2 suggestions here. Now, once again, you are going to tell Bongani it is really important that he has insurance. Look what I said to you here. You need to make sure that you reduce the stock that you are keeping in your business. If you have less stock to insure, the value will be less and your monthly premium will go down. That will just mean that he's going to have to make sure he purchases at the correct time, that he always has things available, but he's not going to be wasting places to store all his stock. if a fire occurs or if there's water damage, there's less stock that's damaged. So it's actually very good for Bongani to consider doing that. It says we can obtain a quote from another broker or insurance company. Because remember, we can work through a broker. A broker is someone that can help us to get quotes from quite a few companies, to help us invest our money. So we can either ask our broker, that's too expensive, go to another company, or you can pick up the phone and he could get a quote from another insurance company. Once again, I'm saying here, we want to try and reduce the risk here. If you remember, we spoke about this when we did insurance. We said your premium is calculated according to the risk that you pose to this insurance company. So if you have a whole lot of open paint cans or paraffin standing there, the insurance company is going to say to you, hey, buddy, you are a big risk. That's why you're paying 2,800 Rand per month. So if Bongani can go and he can make sure that there's no unnecessary risks inside his business that's going to increase his premium, he might just pay less per month. And then lastly, we want to reduce our unnecessary costs. This could relate to other costs in the business. We could say, okay, we don't need uncapped ADSL that we're paying so much for. So let's try and reduce our costs there. Let's try and spend less on telephone bills so that we can cover the 2,800 that we have to pay. And then lastly, the ability to absorb risks. And then once again, I said any other correct answer we will consider. But you can't write nonsense, eh? You can't just take a chance here and thumb suck something. It has to be a correct answer that's relevant to this question. Okay, let's carry on. Question number 4. It says, classify each of the following descriptions under compulsory and non-compulsory insurance. Write the appropriate category next to the question number and give a reason. Don't forget to do that, because now you fly away with your answer and you're just going to write compulsory, non-compulsory, and you don't get all your marks because you didn't justify your answer. So the first one I've got here says, safety of passengers traveling in a taxi on a public road. Road Accident Fund, the RAF. Do you remember that? Now, think back a bit. What is compulsory insurance? Compulsory insurance is insurance that we have to have. You have to take it out. So it is a law. Your employer, or the government in this case, will ensure that you are covered. The Road Accident Fund. Quickly, on Facebook, while I'm carrying on, tell me, how do we contribute towards the Road Accident Fund? Who's going to be the first one? I want to see answers coming in quickly. So, I want to see here that the Road Accident Fund is a form of compulsory insurance. We have to pay this every single time that we want to hear what it is, how we get it. And then if something happens to us, if we are in an accident, then we can go and claim from the Road Accident Fund. Guys, please remember that the guy that caused the accident, the guilty driver, cannot claim from the Road Accident Fund. Tough cookies for him. He must learn to drive better, because now he's caused a lot of pain and suffering. But if you were in the car that was driven by this guilty driver and you got injured, you are allowed to go and claim from RAF. Have we got any answers yet?
No, I'm
Nothing.
still
Oh, I'm disappointed, guys. I'm
Come
going to
on.
carry on. Maybe someone's going to answer and I'll come back to that one. So the next one I said is business premises destroyed by fire. Will this be compulsory or non-compulsory? Remember, we just spoke about Bongani now, and we said Bongani didn't even have insurance. So it's non-compulsory. No one's forcing you to take out fire insurance. So that's the first thing that I want to see here. It is definitely a non-compulsory form of insurance. And once again, what does this depend on? It says It depends on the ability of a business to overcome the losses resulting from the fire. This could be shifted to the insurance company, which is optional. Optional means it is non-compulsory, it's not a law, we don't have to take it out. And our last type that we've got here says protection of employees against injury in a factory that employs 60 workers. So what will protect an employee? There's something that we call the Occupational Health and Safety Act. Do you remember when we did legislation? We spoke about the Occupational Health and Safety Act that states it is the employer's duty to ensure that employees are safe when they go to work and that they are not exposed to any deadly chemicals, so something that's not going to make you sick. Now, if something happens to you at work, we go and claim from something called COIDA, Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Diseases Act. This is a form of compulsory insurance. Yes, because the government says to us, you have to take out this insurance. It refers, once again, look at this, the Workmen's Compensation Act says, and this is applicable to all businesses that employ more than 50 workers. Very important that you remember that.
Someone have us all.
Yay!
2 people.
Oh, yes, I'm
Okay, well, I'm
impressed.
going to read them both because you both did it at exactly the same time.
Okay, let's
So,
hear.
Ian and Tulofelo, the RAF is paid via levies paid on fuel.
Yes.
Well
Well done,
done.
guys. I thought we were going to get like 20 answers coming in here. Did you know that the Road Accident Fund, every time that you go with your little scooter or your car or a taxi or a combi or a truck and you put in fuel, petrol or diesel, there's a little bit of a levy, like a little piece of that money that you pay towards it is paid towards the Road Accident Fund. And that fund is there to help us if we are injured in car accidents happening on public roads. Let's carry on. All right. Do you think we should take a break before?
Yeah,
we
before the
start
next
this long
question.
question?
I think so. Okay, grade 12s, quickly just jump up, stretch, and we'll be right back after the break. Welcome back, Matrix. We were just discussing my sunburn in the sun today. I hope you guys wear sunscreen, I'm just saying. But nevertheless, don't forget, I'm so proud because now all your answers flourished in, and we knew this would happen. We honestly did. So well done for all of you who sent through the right answer, and I'm so proud of you, I must say. But don't forget, you can find us at facebook.com/learnextra. So let's get back into our business studies.
I just want to mention one thing. As it was the ad break, we were quickly looking at answers coming through, lots of them. Did you wait for this answer to come through and then you all answered? I'm wondering. No, we think it was just slow coming through. Please remember, there were quite a few people that answered that the RAF, the levy is collected by toll roads and toll that you pay. No, guys, it's petrol and diesel. Please, just remember that it's not toll. Let's carry on. Question 5 says, Basil invests. Now we're doing investments, eh? We're doing investments. And I don't have time to recap because I'm talking way too much tonight. So we're flying now with question 5. Basil invests 10,000 Rand of his annual bonus in a fixed deposits at Standard Bank, earning an interest of 12% per annum. Remember, that's PA means per annum, and that means per year. Question number A says, using the simple interest method, calculate the return earned by Basil over the period of 12 months. In other words, 1 year from now, how much is his money going to be worth? Let's have a look here. Please remember that you must know these formulas. For us to determine simple interest, we are going to take our original amount that Basil had. He invested 10,000 for 12 months at an interest rate of 12%. Remember, that's why this is over 100 here. We're saying that if you look at this, we always need to write a percentage over 100. So that's why that's there. Let's look on my calculator here. We said, can I just quickly close this? I just want to have a look here. He had 10,000, and we're going to times that by 0.12. Do you guys know that? How much is 12 over 12 before we go to the calculator? So I can basically say times 1. All right, calculator, here we go. So 10,000 times 0.12 times 1 equals 1,200. Look at that. At the end of the year, Basil will have 1,200 Rand extra. So if I'm asking you, what is the total value that he now has? I'm going to add it to 10,000 plus my 1,200 interest. Next question. Give 2 reasons why Basil's investment in a fixed deposit account is good. Let's think back quickly to theory. I'm not going to talk too long now. We said fixed deposits is a low risk. Remember, it's almost like a bank account. It's like saying, I'm going to put my money into the bank, but what's the catch here? Fixed deposit says, I cannot touch that money. So unfortunately, it's sitting there in the bank, can't do anything until the time is over that I put it in for. So if you put it in for that year, you can't go now to the bank and say, oh, I'm short 100 Rand for this. Tough. It's in a fixed deposit. So look at this. It says give 2 reasons why it is good. You can say it is low risk. Just want to make this a bit lower. It is low risk to have it there. So we are going to get a return. The return of 12% may be better or higher than we're going to earn on another form of investment. Also, we could say 12% is higher than the inflation rate. Remember, the inflation rate was roughly 6%. So we could say our money is going to grow more than it would than the inflation rate. Okay, next question. Question 6 says, economists describe the Johannesburg Securities Exchange, the JSE, as the heartbeat of South Africa's economy. List any 4 functions of the Johannesburg Securities Exchange, the JSE. Now, guys, this is really straightforward. It's theory. It's what we did. We spoke about this before. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. It looks at the conditions in our economy. Because of the buying and selling of shares, it can monitor this and follow this. It enables financial institutions to invest their funds into shares, because remember, this is where we buy the shares from. It publishes the share prices every day so that we can keep on top of what's happening with our shares. It encourages small investors to obtain a share in our economy by buying shares in a company. So even if you are a small, like little business or a person by yourself, they're encouraging you, invest, because that will make our economy grow and South Africa will become a better place. Employs experts who help in assessing company shares. And then any other relevant answer that you have read, that you have learned about functions of the JSE. Question number B says, assume that you are given 200 Rand per month as pocket money, and you want to invest most of this 200 Rand in the JSE. Suggest 2 ways, 2, not just one, you're not just going to go and buy shares, in which this investment can be done. So let's have a look here. Guys, I said here, by buying endowment policies. What is an endowment? It's another word for a share. Okay, I'm not throwing in something here now. Remember, an endowment is also known as a share. Invest in unit trusts. We did this. Go look at my notes. Go refer to investments. We spent a lot of time talking about it. Invest in a financial institution, and we can use brokers. Next question. Oh, now we're doing well. Now I'm not talking so much. Ramiza Zulu bought 100,000 ordinary shares at 2 Rand per share from a public company listed on the JSE. At the end of the financial year, he received his first dividend check of 40,000 from the company. Look at this calculation. Calculate the percentage return on his investment. Ooh, guys, how are we going to do this? Now, we need to just quickly remember here. We said he bought 100,000 shares, and they cost 2 Rand each. So how much did he spend on it? He spent 200,000. So that's important for us to just quickly figure out there. Once again, grade 12s, look at this. 5 marks for this question. You need to show all your calculations because you're not going to get all your marks if you only write down the answer. So how do I work this out? I say here, how much did he get? What is his return? We said the first dividend check that he got was for 40,000. And originally, we just worked this out. Don't make a mistake and say it's 100,000. We said he bought 100,000 shares at 2 Rand each. So he invested 200,000, and then we times that by 100 to get a percentage. So let's quickly do this on my calculator again. We said 40,000 divided by 200,000 times 100 gives me, oh, not 100, I put an extra naught there. The answer should give you 20%. 40,000 divided by 200,000 times 100 gives me 20%, not 200. Don't type wrong like me there now. 20% is the return that he got. So that's very good. If you think that it was after 1 year, so for instance, if we compare it to the previous question where the 12% was paid on that fixed deposit, you can see that this person here earned a lot more in 1 year than in the previous question of 12%. Let's look at question B. It says, will Zamisa Zulu be happy with his return on the investment? I definitely think he will be because, look, I said here the return on his investments is higher than another alternative like we just spoke about. With that 12%, or let's say it was a 9%, he earned 20%. And it's higher than the inflation rate. Just what we spoke about in the question before. Or, remember, this is an open question. This is your opinion. You can say to me, no, he won't be happy. Because, let's look at this. The return falls below similar shares in the market. So in other words, you can say to me, if he bought a different share, he could have maybe got even more money. But then remember, on the other hand, he could have done much worse again because we never know what's going to happen to share prices. They go up and down. And then I said to you here, you can answer yes or no, but you have to motivate it. You can't just say, yes, he will, or no, he won't. You need to tell me why. Let's carry on. Question 8. Ooh, this is a long case study. Now, this is probably the way that I would ask an investment question. You do not freak out when you see a paragraph like this. It's just a little bit of information that they're giving you about people. You highlight, you underline. Let's do it. So, 3 family members, Bob, Sam, and Rena, received 400,000. So remember, they're saying Bob received 400,000, Sam received 200,000, and Rena got 300,000 from their deceased grandfather's estate. Bob immediately invested his 400,000 in fixed property in Ballito. Wow, that's very nice, eh? A coastal resort in KwaZulu-Natal. In September 2007, the local government gave the go-ahead for the construction of the new airport that they built there. And this boosted the demand for the residential property in the surrounding area. In December 2007, he received an offer of 500,000. So remember, he only bought this place for 400,000, and now he's already received an offer for 100,000 Rand more. Sam, on the other hand, invested his 200,000 that he received from his grandfather in Gold Reef shares. He purchased 20,000 shares at 10 Rand each. Please be careful not to think that he spent 20,000 on its own. We said he bought 20,000 shares, and they cost 10 Rand for each share. In December, Sam sold all his shares at 20 Rand each. Wow, guys, that's sort of double what he bought it for. So he's doing really well. Rina invested her 300,000 for 2 years in a fixed deposit account. We just did one of those at a commercial bank at an interest rate of 15,000. But here's the catch. Look at that. We said for 2 years, not for 1 year. Now it says, analyze each family member's investment in terms of the risk factor. Now, let's just quickly go look again. Who bought what here? We said Bob invested into a house in Belito. How risky is property? We say property can be low risk if you're in a very well-established area. You know that the value is going to grow. But guys, remember, it can be a moderate to high risk if you are in an area that all of a sudden is now inflicted with crime. It becomes a bad area. The value of your property can go down. And then we say that it can be a moderate to a high risk. And then Sam bought his shares. Remember, shares are always high risk. We never know what's going to happen with those share prices. Before we know it, we might lose everything. But he might also make millions of rands with his shares. And then lastly, Rina has her fixed deposit that she put her money into. Guys, this is very low risk. Remember, it's safe, it's at the bank, nothing can happen to it. Now, this is what I recapped for you guys there. I'm not going to go through that again. This is the important one. It says, determine which investment earned the highest return. Now, we're going to talk about, firstly, Bob. Bob bought his house for 400,000. He got the offer of 500,000. So it's gone up by 100,000. So let's have a look here what it says. To work this out, I've got 100,000 is how much it's grown with over my original amount of 400,000. Times that by 100, I get a 25% growth that he's made. Let's have a look. Sam, remember, he bought shares. We said that it was 20,000 shares bought at 20 Rand each. That means he spent 400,000 on shares. Minus the 200 gives me 200 there again. Now, I want to see what was this percentage return that he made. Remember now we said he went and he sold it for 200,000, and then he originally invested or spent 200 on it, times by 100 gives me 100%. Guys, we hardly ever see that. I love this one, 100%. Now, Rina. There's two ways that you can look at Rina's investment here. You can either use simple interest or you can use compound interest to work this out. So remember I said the snag was that she invested it for 2 years. We said she invested it at 15% and the amount that she invested was 300,000. So we say 15 times 300 gives me 45,000. But let's quickly look at our calculation to work out the interest here. We say 45,000 is what she made out of it. This was the interest that she earned. On her original amount of 300,000, we're going to times that by 100, and here, look at this, guys, times by 2, because this was for 2 years. I'm going to write this there for you guys, because in the previous example we did, it was only for 1 year, which gave us 30%. But now, look at this. If you use your compound interest, we can say she earned 45,000 interest for 1 year. Then we could go add this 45,000 to the 300, because remember, she's earned that after a year. So now I can say she's got 345,000 that she's going to still invest for at 15%, which gives her 51,750 at the end of the second year. We have to add this to this, guys, and I get 96,750, and I go and divide it by my original amount that I invested, which was my 300, and I times that by 100%, which gives me 32%. So can you see that there's a different answer here? If you use the simple interest, if you just used it for the 1 year, it means that your answer would be 30%, which I'll mark correct. If you worked out compound, it would give you 32%, which is also correct. You're going to get your full marks for that. And that is it, guys. I got through it. I know I spoke a lot. I really hoped it helped you guys. And study hard. I hope prelims go very well, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.
Okay, well, we still have time. So before I have to speak, I'm going to ask you, people had questions.
Oh,
they said,
good.
are there any investments that are high risk? Sipokalazi.
High risk investments, shares. Definitely. The minute I think high risk, I think shares. Okay, that's the best answer that you're going to get. And remember, we just spoke about property as well. High risk if you don't know about the area. If you're not from there and you go and buy a house and you're not sure what's going on, it can be a high risk.
Okay, let me check for another question. There's 24 comments. Now you guys just
Now everyone's asking questions.
Okay, and some people ask me why you can't download the notes, but that is strange. No, we won't do that.
IT bugs.
Are you sure? Okay, well, anyway, I'm going to wrap now. I want to say thank you again for Macmillan for proudly sponsoring this fantastic show. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. It was so nice to be back. Have a fantastic afternoon, guys, and I'll see you same time, same place next week. Bye.